Welcome, dear students. Welcome to the second part of Outcomes of Democracy, that is chapter number 7 of Democratic Politics, class 10. So, before starting the second part, as usual, I will let you know that what we have studied in the previous part, that was part number 1. So, we started this chapter that when we compare democracy with other forms of government, we find that democracy is better. Now, why it is better? That also we discussed. We discussed that it promotes equality among the citizen, enhances the dignity of the citizen, improves the quality of decision making, provides a method to resolve conflicts, and allows room to correct mistakes. Further, we studied the different outcomes of democracy. In that, we studied about how a democratic government is accountable, responsive, legitimate government. The second outcome which we read was the economic growth and development. And the third outcome which we read was reduction of inequality and poverty. So, today we'll go through the fourth outcome, that is accommodation of social diversity. First of all, I will read the slide. After that, I will explain in detail. Political equality. If I talk about political equality, all individuals have equal weight in electing representatives. Means all they are having one vote, one value, that is one person, one vote, one value. That is political equality. Accommodation of social diversities. Democracy is the best government to respect differences and evolve a mechanism to negotiate those differences. We have already learned this in the first chapter, that was power sharing, how the ethnic composition, how the social diversity in Belgium was accommodated. It is no doubt that democracies accommodate various social divisions. Example I gave you, Belgium. Belgium has successfully negotiated differences among ethnic population. Democracies usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition. This reduces the possibility of these tensions becoming explosive or violent. Yes, it is true that no society can fully and permanently resolve conflicts among the different social groups, but we can certainly learn to respect these differences. We can also evolve mechanisms to negotiate the differences. Democracy is best suited to produce this outcome. And what is that outcome? That outcome is accommodation of social diversity. Ability to handle social differences, divisions, and conflicts is thus a definite plus point of democratic regimes. But the example of Sri Lanka reminds us that a democracy must fulfill two conditions. Yes, of course, Sri Lanka is also a democratic country. I am not saying that Belgium is democratic and Sri Lanka is non-democratic. Accommodation in Sri Lanka, we have studied in power sharing, was not good. It led to a civil war. So, taking that situation in our mind, democracy must fulfill two conditions in order to achieve the objective of accommodation of social diversity. Now, what are those? It is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply ruled by majority. It is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply ruled by majority opinion. The majority always need to work with the minority so that government function to represent the general view. Majority and minority opinions are not permanent. Likewise, in Lok Sabha, the party which has got the maximum, the majority number of seats, they form and run the government. Now, what about who have not gained the majority number of seats? They work as opposition. So, to run a government smoothly, both the ruling party and opposition party, both should function well. Concern of both should be there while taking any decision. So, majority should always need to work with the minority so that government function well. Majority and minority opinion are not permanent. Acha. It is second point. It is also necessary that rule by majority does not become rule by majority community in terms of religion. Rule of majority doesn't mean that in terms of religion or race or linguistic group. Rule by majority means that in case of every decision or in case of every election, different persons and groups may and can form a majority. Democracy remains democracy only as long as every citizen has a chance of being in majority at some point of time. If someone is barred from being in majority on the basis of birth, then democratic rule ceases to be accommodative for that person or group. What happened in Sri Lanka? So these two things you have to remember in case of Sri Lanka. Now, the next outcome is dignity and freedom of individuals or the citizens, what we say. Now, take the case of dignity of women. Okay, let me first of all talk about the slide. Dignity and freedom of individual or citizens. Passion for respect and freedom are the basis of democracy. First of all, let us talk about dignity of women. Gaining some sensitivity due to long struggles. Respect to and equal treatment of women are necessary. Once if it is recognized, it is easier for women to wage a struggle. Means, take the case of dignity of women. Most societies across the world were historically male-dominated societies. Long struggles by women have created some sensitivity today. That respect to and equal treatment of women are necessary ingredients of a democratic society. That does not mean that women are actually always treated with respect. But once the principle is recognized, it becomes easier for women to wage a struggle against what is now unacceptable legally and morally. In a non-democratic setup, this acceptability would not have legal basis because the principle of individual freedom and dignity would not have the legal or moral force there. Means the dignity of the citizen is maintained in democracies, but this thing lags in non-democratic regimes. Let us take another example. Let us take another example. The same is true of caste inequalities. Democracy in India has strengthened the claim of the disadvantaged and discriminated caste for equal status and equal opportunity. There are instances still of caste based inequalities and atrocities, but these lack in moral and legal foundation. Perhaps it is the recognition that makes ordinary citizen value their democratic rights. Means all are equal before the law. In India, democracy has strengthened the claims of disadvantage and discrimination. Likewise, we have seen that there are reserved constituencies. There are reserved constituencies for ST, SCs and OBCs. Reservation in jobs, in educational institution. It is there. Constitutional provisions for safeguarding the interest of minorities is also there. Weaker section and backward classes. It is the recognition that makes ordinary citizen value their democratic rights. And why this is possible? This outcome, the outcome that is dignity and freedom of the citizen is possible only because of democracy. This outcome is possible because of democracy. Now, if we talk about a general view, the outcomes of democracy, a general view, success of democracy comes with more expectations and complaints from the people, which indirectly indicates participation. People have developed awareness and ability to expect and look critically at power holders. They can question. Expectation from democracy also functions as the criteria for judging any democratic country. We can question. If we are not satisfied, we can question. And it is the most distinctive about democracy is that examination never gets over. Once if it passes the one exam, as democracy passes one test, it produces another test. As people get some benefits of democracy, they ask for more and want to make democracy even better. That is why when we ask people about the way democracy functions, they will always come up with more expectation. Yes, we also expect a lot and we complain a lot. That is the true democracy. That is what you call is true democracy. The fact that people are complaining is itself a testimony to the success of democracy. People are questioning, people are complaining. It itself is a certificate that yes, democracy is there. People can raise their voice. It shows that people have developed awareness and the ability to expect and to look critically at power holders and the high and the mighty. In the beginning of the chapter itself, I have told you that democracy is merely a situation. It is merely a condition. It is up to the citizens how much they can take advantage from it. If a person complains or shows dissatisfaction with democracy, it shows that the success of the democratic project. It transforms people from the statue of a subject into that of a citizen, status of the subject into that of a citizen. Most individuals today believe that their vote makes a difference to the way the government is run and to their own self interest. And if the government is not working well, government is not performing well, then yes, of course, we have got the option that after every 5 years we can change it. So, in this chapter, we studied about the different outcomes of democracy. First of all, we discussed that what makes democracy the better form of government. After that, we discussed about several outcomes. The first outcome, democratic government is accountable, responsive and legitimate government. Second outcome, economic growth and development. Third outcome, reduction of inequality and poverty. Fourth outcome, accommodation of social diversity. And the last one is dignity and freedom of the citizens. And finally, we give an overall view. I hope you understood the chapter. Thank you and have a nice day.